So right here in the trunk, you'll see that usually there's a cover, plastic cover here. Just go ahead and pop that off with a plastic trim tool. Then underneath, you'll see this 14mm nut that you have to take off with the car still on the ground. That way the shock and the wheel doesn't go flying down. There we go. If that doesn't work for you, or if you don't have an air or electric impact gun, you can use an Allen head, hold it in the center of the stud here, or the shaft, and then use a 14mm wrench and wrench the nut off. Once that's off, go ahead and take off this washer. There's going to be a rubber bushing here that you have to take off. It's usually a little bit stuck in there, so just pry it up to unwedge it. There we go. Take that off, and now let's raise the car up. And down here by the wheel with a 14mm socket as well, go ahead and remove this bolt. But as it comes out, make sure you hold the shock because there will be nothing holding it in anymore. You don't want it to fall on you. Take the bolt out, pull the shock off, and here it is. So here we have our new shock absorber, and you have to start it or prime it before you put it into the vehicle first. And that basically requires you to compress it all the way down by hand until it bottoms out. This is going to mix in all the oils that are inside. If you don't do this, you might get some clunking over bumps at first. So just go all the way down and then let it go all the way up by itself. The more times you do this, the stiffer it'll get, which is good. That's what you want. The oils are all mixing together. And I like to do this between 3 and 5 times. That way I know for sure that everything is completely started and mixed up. So now that I've done it several times, you want to take your flat, large washer, put this on first. Then you have this spacer sleeve here, slide that down. Then you have a bushing, rubber bushing, and you want to put it on with the cone facing down, or the cone shape facing down. Slide that all the way in. Take your new shock absorber, slide it into position here, make sure it lines up with the top, but most importantly, line it up at the bottom, wiggle it into place. Once the bolt lines up, go ahead and thread this on by hand. That way you make sure it doesn't cross thread. There we go, let's snug it up. 40 foot-pounds for this bolt. That's it right there. So you can see the shock came through as we lowered the vehicle. Let's put the rubber bushing in, make sure the cone shape faces up. And it slides down onto the that metal sleeve that you have in there. Put the washer in, and finally your new nut, which is now a 16mm nut. The torque for this is 22 foot-pounds. You can't really torque it because as you tighten it with a socket, the whole shaft is going to spin. So I'm going to run it down with my air gun. And if you don't have an air gun, just like before, you put an Allen inside and use a wrench to turn it. And instead of torquing it, what you can do, if you can't torque it, is you just look at the bushings, and as soon as they start to squish a little bit, you can just stop right there. You don't want to crush them completely, but obviously you don't want to leave them loose either. Okay, I'll go a little bit more. Okay, so that right there, I can feel the bushing is a little bit squished and it's tight up against the frame. So we're good to go. Now if you have your plastic cover, you would go ahead and put that back and then take it for a road test.